we'll call it pseudo rival round this week, alright? Pseudo rival round. And it starts, finally, these two teams have a showcase game, really. Really to show off the rivalry. Adelaide versus Port Adelaide. The showdown Thursday night. So, I've tipped the Crows against Port Adelaide. Friday night, I've tipped Collingwood up against Carlton. Saturday afternoon, I've picked the Giants over the Swans in the Battle of the Bridge. Saturday afternoon, evening, I've picked St Kilda over North Melbourne. Saturday night, I've picked Geelong over Melbourne. Saturday night as well, I've picked Essendon over West Coast. Sunday early game, I've picked Fremantle over Richmond. Sunday mid-game, I've picked the Bulldogs over Hawthorn. And the final game of round 8, I've picked the Lions over the Suns. Who have you gone with this week?
So to start off the round, the showdown, I've went the Crows over the Power. On Friday, I've went the Blues over Collingwood. For Saturday afternoon, I've went the Giants over the Swans. Saturday afternoon, also, I've went the Saints over North Melbourne. Saturday night, I've went Geelong over Melbourne. And the other Saturday night game, I've went the Bombers over the Eagles. For Sunday, I've went Richmond over the Dockers. Then I've went the Bulldogs over Hawthorn. And the last game, I've went the Suns over the Lions.
We've got a couple of big ones this week that we have not picked the same. Alright, we'll start with the showdown. This will be a quick one. Basically, the reason I've picked the Crows here is two reasons. One, the Crows have a very good record against Port the last few showdowns. But the main reason is the injuries.
Yeah.
Rosie's most likely out. Sam Pepper is out. And Alir is out. I think the Crows are going to have I don't think it'll be a comfortable win. I think this will be a very close showdown, which it should be. And hopefully it is. Hopefully it is for the showcase of it. I do hope it is a close game. I know you probably don't. You probably want a flogging for Port. But
I hope it is, but I think it's going to be the other way around. I reckon the Crows are going to flog us.
Yeah.
I reckon it could be a 30-plus win for the Crows.
Yeah, I mean, it very well could be.
The fact is they lost their captain, their best player pretty much all season. Their best pressure forward in Pepper, and perhaps their best defender.
Alright, next game is Carlton versus Collingwood. So, the basic reason why I've gone Collingwood is Carlton last week showed me something that earring their head in their game, wiggling its little head up, and it's their bombing forward to Curnow and Mackay. It's got to stop. They keep on bombing long to these guys, and against fucking North Melbourne, against the bottom teams, they'll have a field day. Who cares? When they're playing against good teams, it's not going to work, like it did against Geelong. Now, Geelong obviously didn't have Tom Stewart, but they do have a very competent defence. So if you just bomb it on their heads all day, they're not going to perform. So I think Collingwood's defence will hold up very nicely, and I think that Carlton, if they don't do that, if they actually lower their eyes a bit and Curnow and Mackay actually start to lead, because that's something as well, they're not actually leading enough, I think. I think both of them are calling for it long when they need to lead up and hit it to kick out. And if they just bomb it long to them, Collingwood will just have a field day. Yeah. And I think that's what's going to happen. So that's why I've gone Collingwood. What are you gone?
Well, I went Carlton because the press conference after the game from Michael Voss, he absolutely ripped their defensive attributes from the whole game. And I think they'll get to it. Cripps and Walsh in the midfield with George Hewitt will show the brutality of their midfield. And I think one of them, Hewitt or Kennedy, will go to De Goey and shut him out. And I think the ruck duo of De Koning and Pidnet's working at the moment. I think
Pidnet had a massive game.
And I think that's going to work well against Cameron and Cox, because I think that'll work for them. That's their problem, is that they're going to keep bombing it long to them. It's getting a bit more spotlight on it the last couple of weeks, that they might start lowering their eyes. If you lower your eyes, it does work. And I think they're going to start doing that this week.
That's the game, by the way, guys. We'll definitely be streaming. I may do another one this weekend. We'll see how it goes. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the Sydney Smash, the fucking Battle of the Bridge. What a game. Sydney versus Giants. This is going to be a big game. Second versus third as well. I think this will be a big game, though. But I do think the Giants are going to get players back. That's kind of where I've gone them. I do think that Toby Green will obviously be back. And Sam Taylor should be back.
Yeah, Sam Taylor should be back. Caniglio, maybe?
Yeah, I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
But even so, I think GWS cover their midfield pretty decently. I am a little bit interested to see how the Swans play here, because this is probably one of their bigger games they've had. It's probably their big game that they've had probably in the last month, really. They had the bye, they had West Coast, they had Richmond, which they lost to, and obviously they had the Gold Coast, and recently they had Hawthorn. So they've had a pretty easy 5 weeks. They had a really tough start to the season, which they performed really well at. But since then, this is probably their biggest game. So, considering I haven't really seen them against a big team, that's kind of why I'm a little bit less confident on Sydney. So, I think the Giants will win, and I think the Giants have looked good the last couple of weeks as well against better sides.
I think it's going to be one in the midfield like most games are. And
the matchups in this game are insane. It's Carlton on Hogan. Down the other end, you got Taylor on, the McLean, and fucking Iden probably matches up on Hayward. Just every single matchup. The midfield battle, that's going to be massive.
Yeah.
Grundy versus Briggs. I think this is a really big game. It's a game to watch. I mean, even if you have a KO subscription, this is a game you need to watch. And it sucks that it's on at 1:15 on a Saturday.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move to Sunday. So, I wasn't going to talk about these games, but with two surprise tips for you, I've tipped two favourites. Richmond versus Fremantle. Is this because it's the MCG, basically?
That, but it's also the fact is that I think that they're going to be more brutal. I think they're going to show a bit more fight, the Tigers.
They've been off the last few weeks.
I think they have been. And I think this is the game they're going to respond. And I don't trust the forward line of the Dockers.
Well, basically the reason I picked Freo is Richmond's just got too many injuries. They lost another one, Jacob Hopper, this week as well. So that's basically where I'm going at for that one. Then finally in the pineapple battle, what's it called now?
It's the Q clash, isn't it?
Oh, the Q clash, isn't it? I remember they called it the pineapple for a bit. I think they should call it the pineapple.
Yeah, I think yeah.
Okay, so in the battle of the pineapple, rolls off the tongue. Why have you gone the Gold Coast here?
Because I don't trust the whole team of Brisbane at the moment. I've trusted them so many times, even at home, and they can't win at home. The two games they've won have been away. So, but I think that if they want to get a win, and put themselves in the map, Gold Coast, they've got to do it. They've got to somehow win this.
Yeah, I mean they won the Q Clash last year.
Yeah, and that was
the first time in a while. So they've got the monkey off the back now.
And that was at home. So they're going to try and do it on enemy territory, and I think they can do it.
Yeah, well, I think this is something that the Gold Coast need to do because they've won 4 games this season, and all of them have been at home, and all of them have been against lower teams. So they haven't really beaten a big team yet. I think it's probably their biggest team yet if they were able to beat them away as well, because obviously they haven't played very well away. We've seen that. They've been pretty flat track bullies for the last couple of years. Well, really since they came into the competition. But they're making the fortress at home, which is good. But they still need to win some games away if they want to make finals this year.
Yeah.
And I've gone with Brisbane basically on that fact. The Gold Coast haven't shown me much away from home yet. They didn't play that well in the games away from home so far this year. Yeah, I just see Brisbane. I think they're kind of due. I think they're kind of due for a big game, and they will get questioned this week.
Yeah, I also you got to look at it. Their midfield for the Lions is just getting smashed.
And the Gold Coast do it.
And you got the big brutal midfield of Miller, Anderson, and Rao. So I think if they win that midfield battle, they could have a field day. It's not a game that really is close. These battles, even when they won last year, the Gold Coast, they smashed them. Yeah. So I don't know. It's either going to go either way. Yeah. But it's either going to be a smashing of the Lions or the Gold Coast, and I think the smashing is going to be the Gold Coast side.
Well, guys, that is our tips for this week. Make sure to let us know down below who you think is going to win, if your team is going to win this week or if your team is going to lose.